Hey there, everyone. This is the read-along for Monday with Dred Scott versus Sanford. So once again, to go ahead and find this document, we'll go ahead and click on April 13th, Dred Scott versus Sanford. Okay, hopefully you already have your instruction slides open. And you can go over here and click on this document. All right, so we're going to start with the directions and the guiding question, then we'll read through, and I'll explain a couple things as we go. All right, our directions for today. Read about the Dred Scott case below. While you read, mark the text according to the guiding question. Underline main ideas and circle key terms that directly relate to or answer the guiding question. Okay, so we are going to be marking the text. You guys can do that on the computer, on a piece of paper, okay? How that's going to work is you're going to read this guiding question, which, by the way, is, why was the Dred Scott case important? Okay, so what is the importance of this Supreme Court case, which it is a Supreme Court case? Okay, we're going to go ahead, read through, and we're going to be trying to mark the text to answer that question. All right? So, background on the case. Starting right here. Actually, why don't I go ahead and make this a little bigger for you guys? There we go. Right here. Dred Scott was an enslaved African American bought by a doctor in Missouri, a slave state. In the 1830s, the doctor moved with Scott to Illinois, a free state, then to the Wisconsin Territory, which at the time was also free. The Northwest Ordinance of 1787 banned slavery there. That's in the Wisconsin Territory. Okay. Later, the doctor returned with Scott to Missouri. In 1846, anti-slavery lawyers helped Scott sue for his freedom. Scott claimed he should be free since he had lived in areas where slavery was illegal. 11 years later, the case reached the Supreme Court. So in 1857, the Supreme Court finally listened to the arguments for this case. At issue was Scott's status, but the case also gave the court a chance to rule on the question of slavery itself. Okay, so this is the first time the Supreme Court is really truly going to make a rule. Is it legal or illegal, according to the Constitution, for slavery to be a thing? Okay, is slavery legal or illegal according to the Constitution? That's what the Supreme Court is finally going to decide here. All right, so what did the court decide? The court rules. Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, and that is pronounced Taney, wrote the court's opinion, okay, or what they decided. What was their voting decision? Dred Scott was still an enslaved person, so just because he had lived in free states doesn't mean that he got to be free. As such, he was not a citizen and had no right to bring a lawsuit. Taney wrote that living on free soil did not make Scott free. A slave was property. The Fifth Amendment prohibited the taking of property without due process. So basically, because he is a slave, he is property, and therefore the government cannot take him away from his owner. It cannot take property away from the owner. Finally, Taney wrote that Congress had no power to ban slavery. Let me read that one more time because this is super important. Finally, Taney wrote that Congress had no power to ban slavery. The Missouri Compromise that banned slavery north of 36 degrees 30 minutes north latitude was unconstitutional, and so was popular sovereignty. Okay, so these solutions they had to slave states and free states, this judge is saying that is unconstitutional. Basically, as it says here, not even voters can ban slavery because it would mean taking away someone's property. In effect, Taney said, listen to this closely, the Constitution protected slavery. Basically, slavery cannot be made illegal anywhere. That is what he is saying. No one has the power to make slavery illegal anywhere in the United States. And that is going to be a very, very big issue moving forward. So what was the reaction to this decision? Because this is a very divisive decision. It's going to divide the country. The South is going to be really happy and excited about this, but the North, and especially the abolitionists, those that want to end slavery, are going to be very, very angry. In fact, they're furious, incredibly angry about this decision. So let's go ahead and take a look at that reaction. The court's decision upheld what many white Southerners believe. Nothing could legally stop slavery. It ruled limiting the spread of slavery. the Republicans' main issue, unconstitutional. Okay, so it's unconstitutional to limit the spread of slavery. It should be able to spread everywhere, according to Justice Taney. Republicans and other anti-slavery groups were outraged. They called the decision a wicked and false judgment and the greatest crime ever committed in the nation's court. Okay, so this isn't just they're a little upset. They're calling this the greatest crime that the Supreme Court, a part of the government, has ever committed. Okay? All right, that's where we're going to stop for today with Dred Scott v. Sanford. There's one last thing you guys need to do, and that's go back, review your guiding question, and you'll go ahead and go over back into Google Classroom and open up the note sheet for today. Okay, the 1850s student note sheet. You're going to go ahead and answer the question, why was the Dred Scott case historically important? How did this impact or even change history? Okay, what about this case is so important to know? All right, that's all for me today. As always, you guys can reach out with any questions you have or any concerns, email me or text me on Remind. That's all I have. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for listening.